This podcast is produced by Sunnydale Studios.
I don't want just anybody. Let me treat you like somebody. Try to dive on a Rari. This forever, we ain't stopping.
Hello, lovers. Welcome back to Big Love Energy. We're officially in season 2. It's come around super quick. We had a little 2-week break, but needed. It's been pretty, dare I say, the B word, pretty busy around these parts. Only because those who know moving, I have been in the middle of a move, uprooting the boys. We've been in our little villa for just under 3 years, and we're having a little sea change, moving closer to the beach, like on the beach. Some of you have seen in my stories, and we're super excited, but it has been hectic. It's just, in the current climate, even like trying to find a place was pretty stressful, but super grateful to have found pretty much a dream spot. So just a reminder to trust the process, because there were some heavy heated times in that time, but we found our little spot by the ocean. So excited. On top of that, we opened pre-sales for Love Letters, my book that has been in the works for a long time. I'm going to say like over 5 years. There's been many times where I've nearly released it, and I'm so grateful that I didn't. I've trusted my intuition, because there were many chapters to that story that I wanted to add. It's a little bit of a timeline of my story in poetic form, and a whole bunch of artwork and brushwork amongst it. Just a beautiful coffee table book that hopefully becomes like a bit of a Bible for the gals, and a beautiful gift between friends. So super excited to launch that into the world in November. But the first season, I'm so grateful for everyone who tuned in and all the beautiful messages. It was just overwhelming, to be honest. The feedback and just how welcoming everyone was, and patient. I'm sure I'll look back in seasons to come and just cringe and be like, I can't believe you let me record like that. I hopefully get better with each season. But pretty proud of what we put out. The aim of the game is to spread love and connect and share stories and create a little community where we can just get a little bit deeper and little by little make a difference in your ears and the way you think, and know that you're not alone, because got to spread that big love energy. But it was such a good time, and we did have a lot of guests that were in my inner circle. I was so proud to share my friends with you guys, and the amazing women and my bae that they are. And this season we're definitely going to branch out a little more into people I'm just genuinely interested in, and bringing in their knowledge and expertise. A lot of strong female energy, getting really spiritual for those who are into it. And disclaimer, like I've never been, like back in the day, I wasn't an overly woo-woo person. It was more in my more recent journey when I went out on my own that I started really leaning into the signs of the universe. And so I'm just going to gently bring that into Big Love Energy and share that with you guys, and we'll just explore and see where it ends up. We're going to go straight into talking about this episode. We've labelled it an open book, because season 1, it was really breaking the ice, just getting around the whole idea of just sharing on a platform different to social media. I feel that whoever's here wants to be here. They've sought us out, and I receive the most beautiful messages, but people were really looking forward to their Mondays hearing the episode drop, which for me, I needed to hear that. I needed to know that people liked what we were putting out. And it's given me the confidence to be more open. I think that's where the beauty lies. I've had my walls up for a long time. I'm very good at protecting myself and my energy and my boundaries, but also protecting people. But I also think that I need to be an open book, because I do have a story to share, and it is my story to tell. So I will always respect everyone involved, but I will always, going forward, I really hope to share my story and how it's played out for me, because I think there's so much value in someone who's been through it, if you're going through it, or know someone who's going through a hard time. I've probably been there, and I want to be able to connect with you guys and give you a little nudge and tell you it's going to be okay through this platform. So it's all about Big Love Energy Season 2, really opening up and being super vulnerable like never before. So let's get into it. All right, so this episode, an open book, we decided to put up an Ask Me Anything question box. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I haven't done one of these on my socials for a very long time, like over a year or two. I don't know. I used to do them, and then I think I got to a point where I was just in survival mode and protecting my energy so much that I was like, I just need to do this solo for a while without putting my heart out there. But I'm making up for it by answering your Ask Me Anythings on a podcast. May as well just cut to the chase. And yeah, we put a question box up on the Big Love Energy podcast page, and we did get lots of questions. A lot of them doubled up. There were a few that just come up all the time, and I thought, I'm just going to answer them the best I can, to sort of put things to rest and ease your mind and know that everything's okay, and where I'm at, because we're being open. So first question, how was your childhood and are you close with your siblings today? It's like getting straight into it. I have covered a little bit in the past about my childhood, that it wasn't your average, normal, childhood. It was quite, traumatic. And I've never fully, shared the ins and outs. And, I don't know if I ever fully will share full details. But just know that, I copped any form of abuse. I've been dealt it. And from multiple aspects of my life, trust was broken on many levels. And it wasn't because, I've done a lot of work since, and I hate using that word, doing the work. It's a never-ending journey, but I've done so much work in the way of understanding why that trauma happened, and I don't hold any hate or anything like that for how or why it happened. I understand that hurt people. And the energy in our household growing up was really dark. And I didn't know it at the time. It was more when I was, in the playground, sharing stories with the girls in the playground, and you'd share little tidbits like, oh, this has happened, and you'd get a side eye like, oh, that's a bit awkward, or oh, that doesn't happen in my, why are they doing that? And I learned very quickly to shut up and stay quiet and pretend like everything was okay. So, I learned very quickly at a very young age to protect the peace, pretend that there was peace, and protect, the projection that was going out there. And that makes you grow up really quickly. So if you want to go back and listen to episode 3 in season 1, I go into it a little more, and I won't, repeat the sentiment behind it. I made it pretty clear. And I will probably go further down the track. There's a couple of questions I'll probably will touch on, go a little bit deeper on that trauma, because it does, like everything, like in life, it just keeps popping up in so many parts of my life, and I've dealt with it the best that I can. But I'm very well aware that our childhood growing up, there were moments of light, because at the end of the day, I don't think my parents set out to be, to truly hurt us. They just had their demons, and we suffered because of it. And I've got 4 siblings. Well, there's 4 of us. I've got 2 older brothers. I'm the third, and a younger sister. And it's funny, you look at all 4 of us, and we've all had very individual journeys, and you look at us as adults, we're all striving for peace and happiness and very positive people. We love. We've got so much love to give. We're all very creative. We put ourselves out there, which I'm really proud of. Like looking back at what we've been through, whilst it's really fragmented and there's a lot of hurt amongst it all, I'm really proud that we can all individually deal with our pain in our own way and still show up in the world where we're trying to bring light, even if we don't get it right. So in terms of my relationship with my siblings, I will answer this because it comes up every day in all sorts of ways. I'll be like, put up a question box about something completely different to like about my art or outfits, and they'll be like, hey, how are you and your sister? And I can't speak for anyone but myself, but I just know that our family and our trauma is very layered. It's very deep. And there's been times where we've been super close. And there's been times where, you know, when it's so layered, we have to respect each other's boundaries in order to heal. And we're just at a point in time where space is needed. And I have to respect that. So I just, you know, I want the best for everyone. I want everyone to be happy. And if that means space and time, then that's what you have to do. And as hard as it is to say that, specifically, it's just, it is the way it is. And it's the same as my parents. Like I quite often struggle with the idea of, you know, especially with the work I do, I'm constantly looking and dealing with art and helping people in a grieving process where they've actually truly lost their parents in a, you know, spiritual sense, in a living sense. And, you know, I hurt for them and I feel guilty because my parents are alive, but I grieved them a long time ago. And I had to do that because it was, you know, just with everything that we'd been through, and the circumstances that we were left in, no matter how many times I did fight for their love, it was not something that they could give, in a way of, you know, even being there. They just, there was a real blockage there, and it got to a point. And it's different with both parents. There's different journeys with both parents, again, very layered. But yeah, with my mum, it was just, there was nothing more than I wanted a relationship with my mother. But, you know, most people know that if you want to help someone and they can't help themselves and they don't want to help themselves, then there's got to be a point where you let go. And no matter how hard that is, and that's what I had to do. And the temptation is always there to reconnect. But these days, it's not just me that gets hurt. So I've got to protect the family I've made. And so for me, that's a pretty strong boundary. You can hurt me, but you can't get to my babies. And yeah, it's so layered. But I hope that clears up a little bit of where I'm at with my family. I just want the best for everyone. I have so much love for everyone, but I respect the boundaries, and they respect mine, obviously. So that's that. Just to lighten the mood, we're going into another question. Love your style. Where do you get your outfit inspos from? Yeah, I've always loved fashion. I'm sure I can dig out some. I've only got a few photos of my childhood, but my eldest brother actually sent some to me recently, and I was like, damn, girlfriend, she had some confidence definitely with my fashion. I was always like digging up mum's like outfits and trying new things, to the point that my brothers were like so embarrassed. We'd go to the local shopping centre and they're like, why are you wearing that? I'm like, because I love it. And they'd be like, that's weird or whatever. And I just, I always remember pushing the envelope. I've always loved like making things, obviously. So I'd quite often bring out the sewing kit and sewing machine and make all sorts of things. But yeah, I think as a child, I just sort of didn't really care, and I sort of had to work with what I was given as well. Like I had a lot of hand-me-downs and just made it work. And then more so as an adult, because I suppose that's what you're asking. You want to know about my outfit inspo as an adult, not as a child. But as an adult, I definitely dress a lot different now than I did a few years ago, back in my marriage. I feel like I've only just found my identity in fashion and been confident to wear what I want to wear more recently, the more I've sort of stepped into myself. Because, back in the day, I, was really confined to that whole perception of like, it was a multitude of reasons, but like, I had this mother who put so much weight on, looking very polished and in heels and, long hair and always out, like hair always out and, dresses. And then, I got into dancing. So it was the same thing. It was always like looking polished and wearing heels all the time and just like, all about the male gaze, I suppose. And then in my marriage, it was always, I felt like I always needed to put out a level of like this just unobtainable perfection on the daily. And I'm not talking, like I just felt that in order to be loved and worthy, that I had to look a certain way. And then I think, as soon as I went out on my own, I was within a week, I started dressing in sneakers and a Love Life jumper and jeans. And I'd walk into a room, my girlfriends would be like, oh my God, who are you? And it was just because I felt at home. I was like, oh my gosh, I can just like breathe and express myself in a way that through my fashion. And then it slowly became, or actually quite quickly became, oversized tees and the dunks and that Eshe aesthetic that my kids love. And now I throw in, like I still chuck in my dresses. I still love, don't get me wrong, feeling feminine and wearing dresses and heels, but not every day, not to work. The amount of times the girls at work would be going, are you comfortable? When I used to wear my heels to work every day, I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. I can run better in heels than I am flat-footed. I would make up, excuses as to how comfortable I was in heels every day. But these days I truly wear what I want to wear and wear way less makeup than I used to. And I used to have all the trimmings and I just think you just got to like be comfortable in what you're wearing. You've got to be, if you like, I grew up a tomboy, so like it's really natural for me to want to wear oversized, that lifestyle sort of sports athleisure look. It's super natural to me. So if that's makes me feel comfortable, then that's what I wear. And then some days I feel like I want to be ultra feminine, so I'll pop on a dress. And I wouldn't say that I have like actual like inspos where I'm like, oh, what's she wearing? But it's just a vibe, dare I say, of just like the culture. And, I love that whole vintage aesthetic and basketball culture and just like grabbing bits and pieces of like times and vibes that I love and just bringing it into my wardrobe. Having a play. And I think it's, it comes hand in hand with just being creative and a designer, that it sort of falls into my lap a little bit. But my advice to you is that if you're looking for inspo, get onto things like Pinterest, have a look through your Instagram feed and start following some people that you're like, not particularly their style, but just their vibe. Like they don't have to be fashion icons. They just have to be people that you admire or a movement in the world that you like, oh, you know what? I really love that. And try and bring that into your wardrobe and have a play. It's so fun. I find fashion so fun. Next question. What skin treatments do you swear by? Interesting. I have had quite a journey with my skin. I have, let's say, a combination skin. And just that Asian heritage. And I had amazing skin, then I had awful skin, and I've had amazing skin, and when it's bad, it's bad. And I break out crazily. And every time I've looked back at when I've had terrible skin, I've been under immense stress. So I definitely think good skin comes from within. And there is a multitude of things that you can tap into if you want to get your skin on track. To answer the question specifically, I haven't, I chop and change. Not every week or anything like that, but I go through seasons and see what works for me. I've been using, I don't even know how to pronounce it, La Poche-Rosé. I think you get it literally from Chemist Warehouse. It's like a natural, but it's like developed by pharmaceuticals, but it's quite gentle on your skin. So I do find that works best for me. But it's things like, obviously trying to eliminate stress, getting better sleep, double cleansing at night was a big thing for me when I started double cleansing. And it's literally like you wash your face once, but then you wash it again, because that second wash really gets rid of like the dead skin cells and all that sort of stuff. The first one's for makeup and the second's like gets into your pores. I find that really was game changing for me. So there's a little tip there. And also things like just keeping your makeup brushes clean and, changing your pillowcase every couple of nights. I'm really funny about towels on my face and things like that. And just even touching your face. I found that when I was stressed and touching my face and trying to fix things and use all the things on it, that's when it would get really congested. So for me, it's more about just keeping it clean and simple, and then doing those things that make your insides happy mentally and also your gut. I do take collagen every day and have done so for about 6 years. And it's not so much that I do think I could never pinpoint whether it worked until I stopped taking it. And then I was like, oh, I can see a difference in my hair and my skin. So definitely collagen, whether you get it from a bone broth or a powder or whatnot. And then just looking after your diet, like drinking your water. And I say that being a very terrible drinker of water, like I have to really remind myself to get my even 2 liters in is a struggle for me. But just being aware that it all helps. And definitely as you're getting older, just doing those little routines and rituals. I do a face mask once a week. I use a gua sha on my face. Those things they all add up, I feel. And if you get yourself into a little routine and you become really mindful of your skin, then it becomes more prominent and then you're going to see the results. So that's my answer for that. Next question. These questions, there's a variety. These ones are quite light and I'm happy with, but then I think we're going to get deeper again. But this one's, how do you even start doing push-ups? I should have had Hayden here for this. I don't know. No, I can only speak from my perspective and my journey. I've done all sorts of fitness over the years. I was a CrossFitter for a long time. And, then I went through, had babies. So I literally, went through a phase where I lost all my strength. And every time I've tried to rebuild, it's just baby steps. It's starting with 1 or 2 reps, even if it's on your knees. Although Hayden taught me recently that there is a alternative. Like if you have access to like those thick rubber bands, like the exercise bands, and you pop them over, 2 weight hooks, say that you've got a rig and you pop them over 2 hooks, so it makes sort of like this resistance, and you do your push up so your chest falls on the band and the band sort of helps you go up and down. Very technical. That's better than going on your knees. So if you can sort of visualize that, that's a progression that's even better than on your knees. If you don't have that, scrap that. Knees has worked for me in the past, building 1, 3, 5 every day on your knees, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh, I might get off my knees now and start back at 1 off your knees, and then go to 3, 5, and then before you know it, you're pumping out 10. And just getting in the right position. I'm no PT, but if you Google it or YouTube, getting your hands in the right position is crucial as well. So getting that technique right and building from there, that's key, and then you'll be on your way. Next question: do you and your partner's kids get along well? Yes, they do. Someone said this morning, I feel like Rafi would get along with anyone. And they're all beautiful kids. Obviously, we've got the 3 little ones that are all similar in age. And then Jace is my big boy, who like even prior to, this relationship, he was already on his way. I hardly see him. He's so busy with school. He's so busy with extracurricular activities and hanging with his mates. So he's very independent. But yeah, he has heaps of times for the kids and his little brother. And when we're all together, it's all beautiful. And then, yeah, the little ones, they're crazy together. It's very loud and busy and but full of life. So there's plenty to look forward to. But they don't get to see each other much because obviously, we share custody, and it's like, fitting it around our lives and kids' birthday parties and whatnot. But when we do get to spend time together, it's really lovely and nice to watch and fun. So it's never thought that I'd have 4 kidlets in my life. It's crazy, but it's awesome. Which brings us to our next question. Will you have more babies? You and your man would make gorgeous babies. Babies. Look, it's very tempting, the whole concept of, I think when you fall in love with someone, the idea of pouring all your best attributes into one person and bringing them into the life and seeing how that develops is beautiful and tempting. Little Della Wolf babies, we call them. But in saying that, part of my story is that I'm extremely infertile. To go back to question 1 is, I was told, due to the abuse I suffered, I was told as a teenager I'd never have babies, I'd never have kids. I was told that when I was 15. I remember running out of the doctor's office, just like not wanting to deal with it, not wanting to hear it anymore, to the point that when I fell pregnant with Jace at 21, it was an absolute shock, a miracle, and there was no way, even though I wasn't prepared to be a mum at that point, there's no way I wasn't going ahead with it, and I knew I'd figure it out. And even when I was trying to, provide him with a sibling, I never wanted to open that can of worms. So I never went to a doctor and said, why am I infertile? I just thought I fell pregnant naturally once, it would happen again. And then 7 years passed and it didn't happen. And, people would be like, oh, you should try IVF. And I was just like, for me, the idea of going into a doctor's office and saying, at that time, I just thought that will lead to me having to open up about my trauma, and I don't want to do that. So I put it off. I was like, no, I just trust the process. I'll fall pregnant naturally. And I did. I fell pregnant naturally about 7 years into it, and was pumped, got to the 11-week scan, like my first scan, and they said, I remember the ultrasound sonographer going over my tummy and just putting, the Doppler down, like the mechanism that they scan you with, and just left the room. And I just went, oh, that's not good. And they told me that I had an empty uterus, and I was, obviously devastated after trying for so long to find that out, 11 weeks along. And then they said, oh, look, there's actually a mass between your bowel and your uterus, and it's too large to be an ectopic pregnancy. And an ectopic pregnancy, for those who don't know, is when the egg starts forming within your tube and doesn't actually make its way to the uterus and starts forming. And quite often they you miscarry naturally and you're in a lot of pain. I was in no pain. They found this large mass and they said, look, it's way too big to be an egg forming. It could be cancer. So I was in that room that day, going in elated, thinking, here, I'm going to hear my baby's heartbeat for the first time, to you're not pregnant and you possibly have cancer. And my world crumbled. It was a lot. And, I left there and went and saw my GP, and she was forwarded the scans, like the report from that appointment. And she looked at it and said, this looks like an ectopic. Like, it has to be an ectopic, like your levels and everything, and just the timing. And if that's so, because this was actually like a week after the actual, because they were so certain it wasn't an ectopic, they sent me away for a week, and I didn't have an appointment with my GP. And in that time, she's like, you have to go emergency right now and get this looked at. And I went to the emergency ward, and there was luckily an amazing fertility specialist. Dr. Michael Flynn was randomly, he wasn't actually meant to be working that night, but was called in, and he was there, and he looked at the report and said, yep, this is a rupturing ectopic. And we later found out 4 hours, like if 4 hours had passed, I'd be gone. And so it was like to go through that journey, and then have that happen. It was pretty stifling. And it got to a point where I was like, as scary as it was, it actually cemented the fact that I was so certain I was having a baby, and I was so close. I was like, I need to have that baby. I need to have a baby. And I think looking back, I was just so craving to give love again. I wanted to give love, and I wanted, a baby to give that to. Woo! So I put on my big girl pants and went, I'm going to talk to this doctor, because I'd broken the ice. He'd saved my life. He did take my ovary and one of my tubes. So I've got on one side no ovary, no tube, in the emergency process, because it was all gone, just unsalvageable. And then I thought, I'm comfortable with this doctor. I'm going to tell him I was like, he's going to want to sit me down and I'm going to have to tell him about the abuse and why I'm infertile. And I remember going into it was a follow-up appointment, and he was like, this is what happened. Tell me your fertility history. What's your plans? Do you want to fall pregnant? And I was ready to unleash a life story on him. And he just, I was 10 seconds into it. And he just went, we don't need to know about that. There's no need for us to know about that. We understand how hard that must be for you. But I'm in the business of making babies. And I want to help you. Obviously, he's like, your tubes, and I'd been told this before, were the issue. They had endured too much early on. And the problem with my fertility issue was getting my perfectly healthy eggs to my uterus. And he said, that's what IVF was created for. So you're like the perfect patient. And he was right. I fell first round, I fell pregnant with baby Rafferty. And he was, so much just a rainbow baby on so many levels. And the start of my healing process. So I just I'm very grateful for the babies I have in my life. And I've been a mum for 15 years, and as clucky as I get, there's no more babies on the horizon for me. And I will just live through my gorgeous girlfriends and the babies that they bring into the world, and love on the beautiful children I have in my life. So that's that. Okay, all right. So thanks for listening to that. No, we're going to go to the next question. I'm looking at it now, just the timing of this question. Brooke Evers, your band from the Big Love Energy page, she writes, do you love the D? No. No, Brooke. Inappropriate. No. I do love, I love love. That's all I'll say. Yes. I love love. Okay. What is your co-parenting relationship like with your ex? Does he support your journey? Respectfully. I think we are co-parenting the best we can individually. It's definitely, we've got a long way ahead of us. Coming up 3 years since the split, and I wouldn't say it's an ideal situation. There's a lot of feelings there, and everyone's on their own path. Everyone needs their own timeline. I respect that. But ideally the kids are everything, and I would love to be in a place one day where, we can all be friends. It's not there yet. Does he support my journey? We just live very, very separate lives. We're two very, very different people. We've obviously been through a lot together, but we're just not in that time or place where we share any part of the journey together anymore. And I don't know if that'll change. I hope it does. But all I can control is how I parent the kids. My actions, I feel they speak louder than words, and I just really concentrate on making sure that I'm the best mum possible for them. They are my focus. So he does the same on his side. So until further time tells, we won't know, but always hope for the best and stay hopeful, remain hopeful. And if you're going through something similar, just make sure that you stay positive, lean on your friends, lean on your girlfriends, and just don't lose hope that, all will be okay. All right, next question. How do you build a strong relationship with your boys? Look, I'm no expert. I'm sure they would have different answers. Look, Rafi, like I said before, he gets along with anyone. That kid is the epitome of love life. He is such a beautiful energy. Anyone that knows him and comes across him is just like, wow, that kid has so much love to give. So we are just like peas in a pod. He's funny and so mature at the same time, but he's crazy. He's actually super wild. So I do have to rein him in. But we have a lot of fun together. And I think, I've always intuitively with my parenting with both kids is just followed my instinct. I think, I don't get it right every time, all the time, most of the time. I don't know that's parenting, right? And I think when you've been, my own history with how I was parented, it's been such, becoming a mother was such a learning curve for me, because you don't know that you're going to, it was very triggering, because I would find myself, especially being a young mum to Jace, you react emotionally in instances, and that's when it was so triggering for me, because I would say or do something that was my mother, and I'd be like, oh, I forgot that's how, where did I know where I learned that from, and I had put it away for a long time until I became a mum, and it came out naturally, because that's just a learned behavior. And so for me, it was just that's when I started to go, I've got to break this cycle. I don't want to parent like that. So I had to go deep and figure out, how do I want to parent? And through therapy and with Monique, my therapist, she's like, that's the first step, that awareness. When you start questioning your parenting, that is quite often the difference between, you and the parent that you don't want to be. Your awareness of wanting to be better is the first step to being like, okay, that's the difference, because they had plenty of time to sort of fix those, that behavior, and look at us now, it's still fractured. So it is a constant work on bettering myself and looking after myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, so I can show up best for them. And it does, there are times when life gets full on and away from you, and that's when I feel like my parenting drops. I can be snappy, and I call it dragon mum. because I'm just unsettled. And so for me, I just need everything sorted and ducks lined up and just at peace so I can parent the best. And life is unpredictable, so it's the things that are going to pop up, and there's going to be seasons of your life where you're just like, it's a lot right now, I'm not managing. And in those times, I'm very lucky that I've built such a foundation with my kids that they're super patient with me, especially now that I'm on my own. They've really been patient with me, but whenever I'm hard on myself and go, they deserve better, or like, I wish I could do better, or things like that, I know that, it does build resilience. And as long as I act out of love and nurture them the best way I know how, and show them that I'm constantly trying, that's enough for them. And so we have this, mutual understanding. I think we've been through so much together as well, that it's, when it comes down to just hanging out or having fun and spending the weekend together, we don't need to be doing much. We just need to be together. And like I said, Jace is super independent now, so he's quite often doing his own thing. But I always try and, nudge him and say, can we have like some quality time with you, amongst all your busyness, or just hanging out in his room, gaming with his mates. Like I'd try and be super fair, going, I get it, your mates are everything to you, and you definitely deserve to have those freedoms. So, but I always just do a little trade-off and be like, can we go scoot for an hour, or go to do something that we can all sort of enjoy together, or watch a movie. We definitely find common ground that we can just sort of, everyone at different, because we're all different age groups, like obviously the mother, and then we've got a teen, and then we've got Rafi, who's quite little, so at 7 years of age. So we just try and find that common ground, not all the time, but just be really transparent about, the trade-offs and the fact that we want to spend time with each other, and it's not all the time. And I love giving him his space, and not crowding him. But I think just being open about that narrative and what's going on, and where your rationality, that provides a lot of trust. And he's really obliging because he knows that I'm being rational. And then Rafi's just there for a good time, and he goes through moments where he's like, he would love to spend more time with his brother, but we keep busy in the way that, we're just always like talking and doing things, and he's, comes to work with me, and we live a quiet, but like we have a lot of variety in our life. So I think, that's where we sort of found our balance. And I just, with every age that we sort of go through, like, I just love each stage. Like, I can't believe Jace will be graduating school in like a year and a half. And then I'll just have, little Raf to guide along as well. And then, it's just all part of the journey, I suppose, and really being mindful of just going, actually enjoy the process. And I think that's been a blessing as well, having that age gap, is I feel like I had Jace yesterday. So with Raf, it's just, everything's just a little bit more savored, and just really reminding, like, it goes so quick. So not to take it for granted, and also be gentle with yourself. And look after yourself so you can show up the best way as a parent. At the end of last season, we realised that I asked all my guests their flashback faves, but I never got around to sharing mine. And as a true fan of nostalgia and just tapping into that parts of our inner child, I thought I'd share mine today and start the episode with that. So flashback faves, here we go. Flashback faves. I had a little think about this, and I'm quite diverse. And I thought, musically, I can tell you that I danced in my bedroom every day after school. It was actually an escape mechanism for me. I had those, folding mirrors that sort of go over 3 doors, floor to ceiling. And I just treated that room like a dance studio because I wasn't allowed actual dance lessons. And I would dance to anything, mainly Mariah Carey. I had a strong obsession for Mariah Carey, went to her concert, cried the whole way through. But then I had a real phase, like, and with Mariah Carey, it was like TLC and Whitney Houston and Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson. But then I went through this real phase towards the end of like in high school, where I just thought I was full-blown Latina. So Ricky Martin was strong on high in rotation, and just used to try my best at Latin dancing, self-teaching myself in my bedroom, and YouTube, like, whilst it was around, there wasn't exactly like how to do Latin dance on there just yet. So it was very much just copying what I saw on Rage, copying what I saw on Video Hits, and doing the whole record songs from Rick D's Weekly Top 40 on a Sunday afternoon and writing down all the lyrics. And I was obsessed with music and dance from a very young age. But a big part of my childhood that I remember is like finishing school, coming home and watching TV. I'd walk home, and I think it was 3:30 every day. I'm pretty sure The Nanny was on every day, and I was obsessed with Fran Fine and the whole show, The Nanny. I, to this day, can rap the theme song to the opener, and I won't do it for you today. I will save your ears, but it was definitely like, I just loved the whole, just the ease of watching the show. It was such a fairy tale underdog storyline of a nanny who was, everyone sort of looked down on her because she was a bit rough around the edges, but had this amazing fashion and style, and she didn't really care what anyone thought. And she falls in love with her boss, who she looks after their children. And just the whole storyline was just really cheesy, funny storylines that I just grew up watching, as well as things like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched. And I think I have to nod that whole season of my life for just watching that. And I always, there's things that happen in my life to this day that I'm like, oh, it just reminds me of that time, or seeing those strong female characters be their own person, and their little quirks that they own, that I to this day am like, just be you. That's my little flashback fave. Words to live your week by. All right, so this week, words to live your week by, I'm reading a poem from my little stash here, known as Love Letters. I'll just get straight into it. Don't let them harden your heart. Don't let them soften your strength. Don't let their words take away your voice. Don't let their coldness take away your fire. Don't let their bitterness overpower all that you do see as good and sweet. I'll see you next week. Thanks, lovers.
I don't want just anybody. Let me treat you like somebody.